Okay, I think we finally got it dealt with here. I apologize for the delay. I no flippin' idea what that was about. Everything was set up just like usual, and then it just wouldn't work. That's basically the answer to so many things these days with all these complicated interlocking parts. And then one of them goes out, or one of them is misaligned somehow, to use a mechanical analogy, and then nothing works. Nothing works. It's like having one link in your bicycle chain missing, and the whole thing is non functional. Anyway, still have no idea what happened, but hello. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good time to all of you, and thank you for joining me. Those of you who stayed around for those first couple of minutes while I had to reset the whole thing from scratch, which is not fun to do at high speed. But anyway, doesn't matter. I'm here, you're here. I'm glad to be here. I'm Tad. I will be here until the top of the hour. I will be reading from Bobby Dollar. I will be clinging to my overstressed sanity. No, nothing that bad. Just a busy, long day. And I shouldn't really even complain about it because, it's just life and fun and things. But it was a very busy, long day today. Anyway, and I am fuzzy in the brain, but then that's not that different from usual. So somehow I managed to stagger through, and I will endeavor to do the same this time. So anyway, all of you science fiction cats and kittens, lovely to have you with me. And not much to report. Just, another busy day today. We had company over. We had a couple of our kids over, or our young people, or whatever you want to call it, because one of them is actually the partner of another one of our kids. It's complicated. It's not complicated. I'm just trying to protect their privacy, is all. We always try to do that. We never put up pictures of the kids on our websites or anything like that. Not because we were worried about anything happening to them. I know really well-to-do people and stuff, that's obviously one of their concerns, that somebody might, track down one of their kids and kidnap them or something. And, we were never concerned about that. For one thing, we'd make a terrible target. We'd be like, we'll pay everything we have. Please give us our child back. We have like $540. It's like, no, what kidnapper is going to go to all that trouble? But on the other side, though, we did want to give our kids the chance to be their own persons online and not be, introduced to everybody through us, and just, and also before they were old enough, the age of, to consent not meaningfully. We didn't want to kind of make that decision for them, whether they wanted to be splashed all over our page. So I try not to even use their names or much about them, just for those reasons. And it's still a carryover. I mean, it's way past the time when it's probably anything that needed to be worried about, because, our oldest is now 29. And none of them are younger than 25. So, it's just something that we've carried over since that time. Okay, well, that's first tangent down. And now on to other things. Let me see if any of the people bothered to hold on through all of that nonsense. Oh, yes, they did. What nice people. What nice people I read to. Anyway, who's checked in? Christy has. Christy Sanders, good morning to you. Sandra K has checked in from Vienna. And hello, Sandra. Dirk, hello, hello. Good to see you. Chris Fab. Christian Fabricius. Pleasure as always. Jeremy, hello. You were going to be responsible. Responsible is boring. I doubt there's, it's kind of like a paraphrase of the old saying, but I doubt anybody ever lay in their deathbed and said, I wish I'd been more responsible and, done the right thing all the time. This does not mean I advocate people shirking their responsibilities. There are some responsibilities like parenthood, to name one, that are not shirkable, that just have to be dealt with. In fact, any position of guardianship over another life is one of those things. So anyway, Jeremy, good to see you. I'm glad you decided to be irresponsible. Isaac, hello, hello. Isaac is reading Into the Narrow Dark. Cool. Hey, any reading is good. I have no qualms about people reading at any speed. Everybody is different. Everybody approaches their reading in different ways. I tend to be a speed reader. Unless I'm really digging the prose about something and I'm like, don't want to miss I don't want to miss a word, or, I don't want to miss a beat in the meter of the work. Anyway, but any speed you want to read is a good speed, because reading is good. And we all process differently too. Like I said, I mean, sometimes even within our own habits, we process differently. I read certain things with different kinds of attention than I do others. So. Anyway, but it's just good to see you, Isaac. So, Penny Davies checking in. Hello, good to see you. Mark Redmond checking in from Overcast, Yorkshire. Nikki Chetwynd is checking in from Coldbright, Leicestershire. And Rosalba Barbe is checking in from Milan. Excellent. I assume that's what that means. Good morning from the Olympic Milan. Anyway, a pleasure. Milan is a lovely city, even when they're not having any Olympics there. So good to see you. Christina, yes, guten Morgen to you too. And hello. And Petra, good morning. And hello to you. Christopher Kaboombe Rich Winchester is staggering on. I don't know if that's supposed to be staggering or it's a new word, staggering, which I kind of like because it's kind of between stagger and straggle. Kind of combines the two. And Isaac checks in to say something about Milan. And Chenoa, hello, good to see you. Glad you're stopping in to say hello to you. Andre, hello, nice to have you with us as well. That's Andre Tagasel. Or Tagasella, depending on if it's the French or the or German pronunciation, but it's Andre. And Alexandra Lirup, hello, checking in from the Netherlands. So thank you, everybody, for saying hello, who said hello. It's always a pleasure to see and to be able to greet people. Again, another week in which I have very little to report because all I've been doing is maintenance work. I'm working here and there. When I have time, I go and think in my head about, next book and possible ways to deal with it and what could happen and all that sort of stuff. And then the rest of the time, it's just maintenance work of a zillion different kinds. Many things that I had to put off because of the touring and then getting sick after the touring and all that stuff. And then the holidays descending upon me like a cartload of bricks that accidentally got tipped off the roof. I'm not a holiday guy. I'm just not. I was when I was a kid because I didn't have to do anything. That's the main difference. When I was a kid, I just had to be there now, I just had to be in the spirit of the holidays, so that just meant like, oh, we're going to Grandma's or we're going to Auntie Marion and Uncle Lou's for Thanksgiving dinner or whatever it was. I'm like, yeah, I get to see my cousins. Hop in the car, drive to, wherever it might have been. Christmas, same way, except, of course, all the Christmas stuff. But, when you're that age, nobody gets upset, if your present that you getting for them. I mean, if it's your parents especially, they're like, oh, honey, I love it. I don't smoke, but I always wanted a handmade clay ashtray, and stuff like that. And then when you become a grown up, all of a sudden the shoe is on the other foot, the sack is on the other back, the ho ho is on the other ho, or something. Sorry, that may be a little too esoteric. Series of Christmas remarks. Although I know you guys have, what is it? Not Vater Weihnachten or whatever, some equivalent there, and of course they have Sinterklaas in the Netherlands, and Père Noël in France, and Father Christmas in England, and everybody's got a different version. But anyway, so I don't know, I might have been being too specific to the Coca-Cola influenced American version. Anyway, what else has been going on? Dog's doing well. Deb's doing well. Currently slumbering the sleep of the just and the hardworking. I too was hardworking today, ran many errands, did many things, cleaned up many things, cooked dinner, all kinds of things. Cooking dinner is not a common thing for me, although I do like cooking, mostly because I do most of my work in the afternoon these days. It's a habit that carries over from the days of the kids being school age, and it was like work while the kids are out of the house, because I used to be a nighttime writer, but once you have kids that's kind of over, so or at least it was for me. So busy day, a little fuzzy around the edges still, but I had an extra cup of coffee about 2 hours ago, so I should make it through the whole thing. I can't really think if there's anything else that I need to check. Oh, more people have showed up. Patrick Sushmaya. I'm still working on my double S's in German. Sushmaya. Except it's not like that. It's not an SHE sound, is it? It's a sus. Well, obviously there's an umlaut on the U. Anyway, never mind. Shut up, Tad. I'm babbling. Tash, good to see you. Tash Joyce is here, and it's good morning. It's 8 p.m. Sunday night. Pissing rain, humidity high, 30 degrees Celsius. Oh, Tash, you have my sympathies. That is not what it's like here, but I won't tell you what it's like here because it'll just make everybody else feel like they're not getting the best possible weather that they could get. And whereas meanwhile we're in a kind of a weird lull between disasters here, and the weather's actually quite nice to the point of like going out without coats and stuff, which I had to do several times today, running errands and doing things. Anyway, enough about my boring existence. I'm working, I'm writing, I'm thinking, I'm doing a lot of other stuff. I'm cleaning up after animals. I am cleaning up after children. You name it, I'm doing it. Hope you are doing well. As I said, flat week for work. So in terms of talking about it, I will be happy to talk about it when I'm actually working on something like I was with Splintered Sun, and can talk about it in a little more detail. Sus. Sweet, says Patrick. Yeah, okay, so sus. Good, all right, of course. And Holger's checked in too, so hello, Holger, good to see you. And Andre puts a sad remark about how the era of doing stuff seems to be over. It comes back when your kids get older. That's, when your kids get to be about teenage age, they don't necessarily want a lot to do with you anyway. They're friends in their, teens into the early 20s. It's only when they get old themselves, they hit about 30 or so, and they suddenly realize, like it happened with me. It's like, oh my God, my parents did so much for me, and I won't have them forever. And, I better make sure and spend time with them and stuff like that, So I've got a few years left before my kids start figuring that out. And hopefully, if I'm lucky, I'll be dead by then. And they won't have to come and do the like, oh, Dad, we value all the things you did for us now that we are older and mature. Anyway, no, I have good kids. I have very good kids, and I cannot take all the blame or the credit for it, and of course neither can Deborah. Some of it's just plain genetics, some of it is friends and environment in general, but whatever the case, just like I seem to have some of the nicest readers in the world, and I'm not saying everybody, probably every writer has nice readers, But I swear to God, all of mine are really nice people. I mean, it's like I constantly go, what did I do wrong? Where are the weird, antisocial, angry people that I would think would be at least partially sometimes interested in my work? And yet everybody I meet, as I always said, it's kind of become an old joke for me now. It's like, I don't think I've ever met a reader of mine that I wouldn't be perfectly okay to be stuck on a bus with for a couple of hours. You know what I mean? It's like, and that for me is like, a make or break thing. It's like if you would like be screaming after 25 minutes inside your head of like, oh my God, this is horrible. Please save me. I've never met a reader of mine that I didn't feel just really comfortable with and wished I had more time to hang around with. Anyway, I'm babbling again. Babble is my specialty. Babble is my superpower. Well, let me go and read some of the book. That should be fun. We are reading from Sleeping Late on Judgment Day. Bobby has gone to meet the Black Sun and has just met for the first time, although he's heard his name before, Baldur von Reinmann. And Baldur von Reinmann is clearly another loony. But more importantly, they've said, the guy is pretending like, oh, my men didn't understand. I'm so sorry that they were rough with you, blah, 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 which of course, Bobby doesn't believe at all. But they've just finished, showed him a video of the guy who did do most of the beating up with him, who was not one of the Black Sun, was just a hired thug. And, well, let me just read this last little bit. So how far back should we go? It's rather very unpleasant, by the way. So if you've just eaten breakfast or something, I don't know, if I was you, I'd leave the room. Anyway, reading from Sleeping Late on Judgment Day. A moment later, the figure that had been holding down the bald thug's head leaned in so I could see the rest of him. It wasn't possible to say for sure because the new figure was wearing a ski mask, but it might have been von Reinmann himself. The ski mask guy brought out a long, wide-bladed dagger and displayed it to the camera. I could tell by the shape what it was, and although I couldn't read the etching on the blade in the dim light where they had filmed, I already knew what it said. Meine Ehre heißt Treue. My honor called loyalty, roughly, which was inscribed on all the Nazi SS daggers of that kind. I almost made a remark about collecting the whole set or something, but then a couple of other dark figures leaned in to hold Bald Thug more firmly, and the one with the dagger began sawing at his neck. It was horrible to watch, even more so because it wasn't fast. Even a strong man is going to need a little time to saw through a muscular man's neck with a dagger, however sharp, especially when that muscular man is struggling for his very life, thrashing and screaming. Not that I could hear him, for which I was grateful. The last minutes of the video were just unsanitary, nauseating butchery. When it was all over, the camera shut off so that the last view was of the headless neck and the blood-spattered torso. Baldur von Reinmann closed the laptop and sat back, his face pleasant and self-satisfied. The honor of our group is very important to us, Mr. Donner, and we do not take our debts lightly. And in case you think we staged this like some American television show, I have a gift for you. He leaned down and lifted something from the floor behind his desk, then thumped it down on top of his blotter. It was what they call a DJ case, a cube-shaped box about a foot on each side with a lid that snapped shut and locked. DJs used them to lug their vinyl records around from gig to gig. A gift for you, Mr. Dollar, to show us sincerity. Go ahead, look inside. You know that the unfortunate attack on you has been repaid. I've seen a lot in my day, so it wasn't like I was worried I was going to throw up or anything, but I definitely wasn't feeling quite as lighthearted as I had when I came in. I knew from Gustavus and the Amazons that these guys were killers, so that was no surprise, but the positive pleasure von Reinmann took in showing me the execution put him in the next class down, sadists and crazies. Not much of a surprise, I thought. These are the kind of people the highest made hell for in the first place. I did my best to look unmoved, but I didn't open the box either, just left it sitting there like a little spaceship from the planet Decapitron that had landed in the middle of the desk. Okay, if you're done with your little presentation, I need answers. You said we could work together. What is it that you think we have in common? He smiled an empty smile. The horn, Mr. Dollar. You know it as well as I do, so I will not insult your intelligence. The horn of Abigor. Bingo. At least we weren't going to waste any more time. Abigor? You mean Eligor. He waved his hand again. Abigor, Eligor, Eligos. These immortal beings have as many names as they have men who worship them or pray for their mercy. You have shown a rare ability to obtain artifacts others can only dream of. The horn of Abigor would be of particular use to us. Whatever you are being paid, I have been authorized by our leader to pay you 150%. Your leader? I thought you were the leader. He smiled, but this time it was a little tighter. No. The Black Sun is an old and august society, and although I have been lucky enough to make my way into the upper ranks of our faction, we all give our allegiance to the Master, the Imperator. I'll praise him. Timon and Pumbaa repeated the words in a murmur, like a catechism. We are a far greater force than you can know, Mr. Dollar, a powerful movement, an army. We can offer you much besides our friendship, but our friendship alone is a very good thing to have. I'm sure, I said. And what will you do with the horn if you get it? He shook his head, still smiling. Come, we cannot answer all questions. Besides, it will be for our master to decide. But you need not worry. Only good will come of it. We are not some nihilistic sect, some anarchist cell intent on tearing down all civilization. We are builders, Mr. Dollar. Yeah, I'm sure, but it didn't take long for the Soviet tanks to bring down all that Nazi architecture in Berlin, did it? For a moment, I saw something not just angry, but insanely so, a glint in his green eyes. I braced myself to get hit, but he only sat back in his chair and wagged his finger at me like an annoyed schoolmaster. You will not see me rise to such bait, Mr. Dollar. We have certain connection to some of the older Volkish movements, but Hitler was a fool and an amateur and a racist. He said it like I might be surprised to hear it. He wasted far too much time worrying about the Jews when the real enemies were closer, far closer. And those real enemies are? We have spent too much time on this already, Mr. Dollar. He stood unfolding his long, lean frame from the chair. Now, do we make our agreement to cooperate? It will mean better money for you, and in the long run it will mean much more. You will find yourself part of a very influential movement, and we will only gain power in the years ahead. And what if I say no? Because I'm kind of used to working alone. But that is precisely the problem, said BVW, because it leads to misunderstandings. Like this. He indicated the box on the desk. No, I think you will say yes. After all, what else can you say? So I say yes, and then I walk out? More or less, he said. He reached down and pushed a button on his phone, and a side door opened. 3 more men entered, all similar in age and appearance to the 2 missionaries, as I still thought of them, All wore the kind of jackets that were good for concealed carry, and this time I was pretty sure they were packing more than just pepper spray. Some of my associates will go with you, of course, to pick up anything you might need before you move in here with us. We have extensive dormitories in the upper rooms and many rooms to choose from. Surely you will like that better than, pardon me, the ghetto where you have been living. So they apparently didn't know I'd moved out of Tierra Green, or where I'd moved to. I was happy to hear that. With the 3 new guys in the room, the odds had just become dramatically worse if I'd planned to fight my way out. But I hadn't. Still, I decided it was time to get the party started before any more neo-Nazis appeared, so I stood and moved a careful step closer to the desk. As I expected, Von R shifted so that he was still between me and my weapons. He wasn't just big, he was smart. I reminded myself not to let the master race bullshit make me careless. "Oh, one thing I wanted to ask you," I said, pausing in front of the desk. "Why Baldur von Reinmann?" He seemed caught off balance. "What do you mean?" "I mean Baldur, the Norse god of light. Reinmann, pure man. Isn't that a bit like calling yourself Jesus von Superman? I mean, doesn't anybody in your organization just start laughing sometimes?" His long, pale face went very cold. "Ah, I was told you had an odd sense of humor. No, really, I've been doing some research." I turned to Timon, Pumbaa, and the new guys. "Do you fellas know all this? I mean, your boss here has had a shit ton of names. First, he was plain old Morten Eggy, son of an Oslo dentist and big into Star Wars. Then he was something else for a while, Svein Wittkrieger, something, when he started hanging out with the black metal crazies. Hey, did you guys play in one of his bands? Anyway, what came next?" I turned to von Reinmann, who was getting paler by the second. "Oh, yeah, the black metal thing was going so well, he changed his name to Uruk and became a movement spokesman. Death metal church burners and cough syrup drinkers just love those Tolkien names. And now he's Baldur von Reinmann, Oberleutnant of the Black Sun faction." I shook my head. "Opportunist? Or just kind of teenage? Help me, I don't know who I am. Are you going to be a hippie next and name yourself Barley or Sunflower or something?" Von Reinmann was distinctly not amused. "Hurt him," he told his men. "Yeah," I said, "you can try." I threw a mocking Nazi salute. "Sieg Heil, baby!" And then I stamped my right heel on the floor as hard as I could. If my trick didn't work, I was going to be in a world of trouble. Give me a gun, a few sharp objects, a good night's sleep, and a lot of cover, and with my angel advantages I might, just might, be able to take 5 or 6 guys. But I'm not promising anything. In the middle of my enemy's turf, in an upper floor office, with nothing in my hands but sweat, I was more likely to wind up shot to ribbons. That was why I had stayed up late the previous night. You may not know this, but you can make a pretty damn good ninja flashbang that also smokes like a motherfucker with mostly household stuff. I'd added a few touches of my own to make the smoke cloud grow bigger and faster. And no, I'm not going to tell you about how to do that. But you can put together something a bit less oomphy with just potassium nitrate, sugar, and the pebbly stuff out of those little snap blasters you find all over during Chinese New Year. You know, the ones you throw down that explode with a little pop. I'd also glued a small metal plate into the upper side of the hole I'd hollowed into the heel of my shoe. So if I miscalculated, there'd be less chance I'd blow my own foot off. I'm an angel, and it would probably grow back eventually, but that still wouldn't make it fun. Anyway, I stomped down as hard as I could, and the charge went off. Wow, did it go off. Because I had only covered the hole with some black putty, all the force went backward. It still felt like someone had shot me in the sole of the foot, directly at Timon and Pumbaa. The bang was loud enough to stagger everybody in the room who wasn't expecting it, strong enough to nearly knock me off my pins, and the amount of smoke that billowed out was very satisfying. Within a second and a half, before anyone could do more than paw at their holsters, the cloud was head high and swirling all around me. Balder von Right Wing screamed something, then people were lurching all around trying to find your humble narrator. Which is why I was glad they didn't know I was an angel. I dropped to my knees where the smoke was thickest, opened a zipper in the air, and then crawled inside. See, the great thing about zippers is that the bubble into no time that they open can only be seen by angels and other similar types of being. As far as the Black Sun boys were concerned, I'd just vanished. On the other side of the zipper, I crouched in clouds of motionless smoke, as resistant to my touch as cotton candy, and I waited. It's never an exact thing, the slippage between outside time and real-world time, so I had to give it long enough to make sure Balder and his men had gone looking for me. If I came back out too fast, I'd find myself in the middle of several angry, ear-damaged Nazis with guns, and my life would become painfully ugly. I couldn't hear or see what was going on outside my little bubble, so I counted until I was pretty sure I'd lasted 3 or 4 minutes. Then I stepped back through the zipper and let real time catch up with me. To my great happiness, I'd managed it correctly. The room was empty, except for the few remaining traces of smoke. Behind the screen of iron bars, the window was now open. Chill November breeze was clearing the room. I grabbed my gun and other weapons off von Reinmann's desk, and when I noticed a flash drive sticking out of his laptop, I grabbed that too. Then I slipped out the door into the third hallway as discreetly as I could. The Black Sun people had no idea what I'd done, so they had scattered through the building looking for me. I could hear a couple of them shouting from the fire escapes at either end of the corridor, which had been my first choice for a getaway, so that wasn't going to work. Instead, I hurried down the stairs to the second floor, where the receptionist was still sitting at her desk, no doubt wondering why her co-workers were running all over the building shouting and waving guns. I stopped in front of the desk. Her eyes went wide with fear, even though I didn't point my gun at her. "Look," I said, "I don't know if you're one of these Kool-Aid drinkers, but if you're not a racist monster, I suggest you grab your purse and your coat and get the hell out of this building and never come back. There's a severed head on the desk upstairs. Police are going to be here soon, and things are going to turn, well, difficult." I didn't wait to see what she did because I could hear the street-level door bang open below and footsteps mounting the stairs. I dashed into the stairwell and halfway down, then opened another zipper, not to dodge them this time, but just to give myself a couple of seconds to think about how this could play out. Then I stepped out of it again and smacked the first guy coming up the stairs with the butt of my automatic right between the eyes. He went down like a cow hit with a captive bolt gun and tangled his comrade so that the second guy's gun discharged right over my shoulder. I jumped over them both and hit the door running. Embarrassingly, I forgot about the steps outside and almost broke my leg, but when I got up, I hadn't done anything worse than skin my knee and ruin my pants. I was trying to decide which direction gave me the best chance of escape without a public firefight when the second guy from the stairs, who'd only fallen down, came crashing out the door after me. I think it was the brown-haired missionary, Timon, still holding his gun and looking distinctly unhappy. By then, of course, I was running. Pow! A shot flew past me and snapped off the brick facing, sending chips everywhere, including into the skin of my face. I turned to shoot back at him as I was running, trying to find an angle where I wasn't going to hit anyone on the street if I missed, and ran right into a fucking parking meter. It was like being whacked with God's 3-iron. My gun flew out of my hand, and I went stumbling, falling, rolling into the street. By the time I got myself sitting up, Timon knew he had me, and had slowed to a walk, his gun leveled at me. I was calculating the ridiculously small odds that I could hit him with my one throwing knife while lying on my back 30 feet away when my pursuer suddenly stumbled and let out a shriek like a man getting a surprise no anesthetic appendectomy. He dropped onto the sidewalk and lay there screeching hoarsely, rolling from side to side, something long and thin sticking out of him like a misplaced chopstick. A car screeched to a halt next to me. The door opened, and before I knew it, someone was trying to pull me in. I started to fight until I recognized Oksana. I shook her off, crawled back to retrieve my gun, then scrambled into the back seat. Before I even had the door closed, Halina pushed down the accelerator and threw the boxy little car into a broad U-turn that had oncoming traffic honking and swerving. Timon was still wailing on the sidewalk when we turned the corner. "I shot him," said Oksana proudly, waving the competition crossbow at me from her place in the passenger seat. "You were supposed to stay away," I said, but mostly I was trying to catch my breath. "He was trying to shoot you, so I shot him," she said, ignoring me. "Pretty good aim," I admitted, "right in the knee. I guess he'll have to quit the Aryan University track team." "Knee?" She sounded disappointed. "I was trying to shoot him in testes." "You know what?" I said. "You girls are fun, but scary." I leaned back in the seat, still sweating. "Before we reach the freeway, let's find a payphone, if such a thing even exists anymore. I need to call the cops and make an anonymous report about some really bad people on Centennial Avenue." Chapter 19. Karma Comedian. The women were still talking excitedly about arrowing people in the balls when we pulled into the garage at Kaz's apartment. "I wish my mother's still alive," Oksana said suddenly. "What?" I was examining the bottom of my shoe. The explosive packed in the heel had melted half the sole, which explained why the back of my foot felt sunburned. "Your mother?" "Yes. She very church, very religion. I tell her I save angel. She's so proud." For about half a second it was silent in the car, like someone had loudly passed gas. "You two know I'm an angel?" I said at last. "We know, of course," said Halina as she turned off the engine. "You think we run away with some normal man to fight Anahita? She's much bigger, stronger angel even than you." I was a little hurt that I hadn't won them over with just my swagger and charm, but I had to admit it would save me the long, embarrassing lecture I had been planning about how when a deity loves a planet very much, they get married and make little cherubs. "Okay," is what I said instead. "Glad you're cool with it." I don't know about you, but I'm always kind of wired after people have been shooting at me. As far as the Amazons, they were pretty high on the whole adventure, so after we got back, I let them take my car and go over to Junior's Catering to pick up some food while I did some strategic thinking. The Junior Burger, which you can only get there and only when Junior wants to make them, is one of the great inventions of modern cuisine. He puts the cheese and grilled onions and hot peppers between two patties, then crimps them into one big patty and slaps it on the fire. When it comes off, it's magic. I sometimes think that Junior props up the entire economy of the Ravenswood district. Certainly the place is always crowded, with a dozen people waiting outside just to get in and order, and about 3/4 of them are from the rich side of the freeway. It was a reasonable evening, so I took a beer and went outside to the courtyard to think. I finally saw a neighbor, a young guy in a suit who kind of half waved at me, like a man meeting a dog that may or may not be dangerous, before scurrying back into his apartment. The people who lived in this semi-expensive oasis in the middle of a poor neighborhood seemed to be the kind of folks who were making money but were never at home. Singles who drove to Tahoe every weekend to go snowboarding or something. I wondered what they'd think if they knew an angel had sublet the demon woman's apartment. I'd be willing to bet they wouldn't have cared as long as they didn't have to make small talk with me on their way from the garage to their sturdily bolted doors. My cell rang, which startled me a little. The call failed, so I walked away from the apartment until I got a whole bar. It rang again, and I picked up but didn't say anything. Bobby? I was slightly relieved. Clarence, how are things for our littlest angel? What's going on with you? He asked. Everybody in the compasses is saying you quit or something. I laughed despite myself. As if, you know what the retirement plan for ex-angels is? Neither do I, because there's no such thing. I just asked for a little time off. But I wasn't thrilled with the idea my colleagues were already talking about it when I hadn't had an official reply from heaven. How did you hear about it? Who hasn't? Alice. Why was it that you couldn't get the time of day out of our superiors without a feasibility study and an environmental impact report? But Alice could announce my business to everybody she talked to. No, I didn't quit. I just got stuff to do. In fact, I need to talk to you. Is your car working? I have one I can use. Good. Meet me in the Crescendo Club parking lot. It's on the Camino Real between Santa Cruz and Valparaiso. You mean now? No, I was thinking right after the last goddamn trumpet. You know, while everyone else is hurrying to final judgment. Yes, now. But I just got in. Sorry, but I really need you to meet me there. Do not, repeat, do not bring Wendell. And do not even consider calling Garcia G-Man Windover. If something goes wrong with your ride, let me know. And I will come all the way up to Britain Heights and get you, even though it's been a long fucking day where once again bad people tried to injure me and I am exhausted and sore. I said I've got a car. The lad was sullen as a scolded teenager. Good. I remembered that the Amazons were still out at Junior's. I just thought of something. Better make it about 40 minutes. I drove the Camino Real with a burger in one hand. Here's an important Bobby Dollar lesson for life. You cannot eat a good burger with one hand if you don't want stuff in your lap. Luckily, I have had years of driving while eating experience. I know to use the wrapper as a picnic blanket so I don't show up to meet the recently dead with pickle chips and mustard splotches on my crotch. Clarence was parking an obscenely large car when I got there, the kind of thing that looked like it should be towing water skiers. I pulled up next to it. What the hell is that? I asked. Company ride? Mine's in the shop. This belongs to my landlady. I never would have guessed. Come on, hop in. Why? I thought we were going to have a drink and talk. No, I picked this place because it stays open late, so your car won't get towed. We'll drink and talk, all right. Just not here. Don't worry, your landlady's wheeled yacht will be fine. Nobody's going to steal it because nobody knows how to drive a Toledo steam carriage anymore. He just gave me a look. The kid was learning. Where are we going? He asked as we sped back across town. I'm taking you to meet the rest of the team. But where we're going is a secret. And that really means secret this time. You don't tell Wendell or G-Man or your landlady. And especially you do not mention it to Alice, who would immediately broadcast it to the entirety of heaven and earth. Understood? Why would I tell Alice? I don't know. I'm just trying to make a point. Shit has gotten real serious now, and it's going to get seriouser soon. Seriouser? Fuck the shut up, kid. Listen, from now on, I am at war. To the extent that your existence is tragically but irrevocably linked with mine, so are you. Got it? He was silent for a while as we made our way down the Embarcadero, The height of the building is going up and down like a bar graph, depending on how wealthy the part of town. You know, he said at last, I really didn't appreciate that threat the other day. I didn't really know what he was complaining about. I'd stuck a pistol in the Amazons' faces, but they weren't bitching. Well, I'd say sorry, but I'm not. I'm totally not kidding. I'm at war. Nazis were trying to shoot me today, and believe it or not, armed fascists are actually the least of my worries. But I'm already risking my career, Bobby. Actually, I'm risking my soul for you and Sam. Why do you keep treating me like I'm some stupid kid? Okay, I admit I felt a sting. Look, I'm doing the best I can, but I'm not real trusting by nature. When I trust people, I usually get fucked over, and as for you, hell, I'm not even sure I like you yet. Thanks a lot. But he sounded almost as amused as angry. I just thought maybe you didn't trust me because... What, because you're gay? Now I got angry. Good thing I'd finished my burger long ago, or there would have been dill chips flying everywhere. Shit, do you really think I care? I've been to hell, kid. I could care less what you or anyone else does for love and companionship in this stinking universe. I do not care who you get sexy with. Got it? Do not care. Actually, I was going to say, because I tried to arrest Sam. He laughed. Wow, somebody kind of made a big old Freudian mess all over themselves, huh? Shut up. As you can see, I won the argument, because my car, my rules. After I introduced him to the Amazons, who were still wiping mayonnaise from their faces when we came in and wearing the happy glow of a couple of world-class cheeseburger virgins who just had their cherries popped in a big way, Clarence walked around Kaz's apartment, eyes wide. This is crazy, he said. I mean, the decor, it's... Don't. I was a little sensitive about it. I didn't mean anything bad. He paused in front of the desk where I had been working on Kaz's laptop. Is this safe? I mean, if you're trying to keep your location a secret? I'm not stupid, Junior. It's a proxy connection. Several proxy connections, in fact. If hell couldn't find Kaz through this, heaven won't be able to track us either. A quick aside. When I first moved the Amazons into the apartment, I looked through Kaz's computer to make sure that there wasn't anything on it that would compromise her safety if the Amazons saw it. Doing that felt creepy, but necessary. But the really weird thing was that other than factory-installed apps, her computer only had about 3 or 4 things on it, all of them completely innocuous, like local restaurant reviews. Seriously, it was like examining your grandmother's computer, except with fewer cat pictures. Even with all the precautions she'd taken over the connection, I guess somebody like Kaz, born a century before Leonardo da Vinci, still didn't feel all that confident about technology. The laptop screen Clarence was staring at was full of Google Earth satellite photos. I had also covered about 40 pieces of scratch paper with complicated and probably useless attempts to figure out the angle of the photo from Doña Sapanta's garden, and thus narrow down the location of her house for a close-up search. I started to explain all this to Junior, but the little upstart interrupted me. I get why you think you found Anaita's secret identity, but why don't you just find her address the normal way? What normal way? Do you think that an important angel like Anaita, who's not supposed to be spending large amounts of time on Earth, plus is up to her holy neck in all kinds of weird intrigues, not least thwarting the entire plan of heaven and hell by creating an alternative destination for human souls, is going to have a listed number? He shook his head. No, but if she's living an earthly life, even part-time, she's probably not pruning her own shrubbery. She has parties, right? Some kind of social life. She must have caterers, a dressmaker, employees, gardening service, stuff like that. You could spend weeks trying to figure it out with all this. He grimaced and waved at the messy table. Boy Scout stuff. Do you always light a fire by rubbing sticks together? Are matches for pussies? Don't get snippy, Sonny Jim. Look, just let me do it. I came from the Records Hall of Heaven, Bobby. I know something about finding information. Yeah, but you're not a very good liar. Sometimes you have to lie to people. He directed me away from the desk and sat down. Find something useful to do. Clean your gun or something. If I need someone who couldn't tell the whole truth of his life depended on it, I'll let you know. Needless to say, with sexy Amazons running around half naked in the next room and loudly making out for hours most nights, all my guns were pretty damn clean. And every blade I owned had been sharpened and resharpened until they were all as thin as fingernail clippings. However, I had been trying to decide what to do once I actually knew where my suspect lived, so I figured I might as well get on with that part. Monica picked up on the second ring. Neighbor, it's Bobby. There was a bit of a pause. There always is. The kind of history Monica and I have is just pleasant enough that I can always call her, but not so much that we don't usually start off with one of those awkward pauses. Yes, hello, Bobby. How are you? Been better? Been worse? Any chance I could buy you a cup of coffee? I swear I could hear her thinking. What does that mean exactly? She said at last. Nothing weird, I promise. I really need to talk to you. In fact, I need a favor. Ah, she sounded more comfortable now. When? I'm just on my way to a client out in the hills. I could meet you on your way back? Okay. She named a restaurant we'd been to before. Give me an hour before you set out. Alice said it would be a quick one. The tone of her voice changed. I think that means it's a kid. Sorry to hear it. Yeah, an hour. I really appreciate this. You're a sweetheart. Yeah, that's me. Sweetheart of the regiment. Look, I know I'm not the most sensitive guy in the world, but when Monica came in, I could tell it had been a bad one, so I just went to the bar and ordered her a drink, then let her get about half of it down before I said anything. Bad night? You know, a 9-year-old girl, beaten to death by her stepfather. She stirred her drink, then took another long swallow until the ice sounded dry. I hate kids. I hate working with kids. In our job. I could only nod. Kids are the hardest, not so much because they don't understand, unless they're really little, but because they ask so many questions, and you have to keep saying, I can't tell you. Or, if you're more honest, I don't know. You want another drink? No, I have to drive. She looked up. Her eyes were a bit red. What can I do for you, Mr. Dollar? I wasn't quite ready to dive in. I've been meaning to ask, how are you and Teddy Nebraska doing? Is it serious? I don't know. He's sweet, but he's so old-fashioned. I swear he couldn't have been alive past the late 1890s. Is that why he's been acting so weird around me? She laughed, but it wasn't one of her good ones. I think it has more to do with the fact that you scare him to death. He wants to make sure you're not angry with him for dating me. Really? Scared of me? Why? Does he think I'm jealous? I told him you wouldn't be. A smile shadowed with regret. I kind of wish you would be, but I knew you wouldn't. Yeah, I think he's worried you might beat him up or something. I sat back. You're kidding. Me? That's right, Dollar. I know you're a useless softy, and you know it, but everyone else down at the Compasses thinks you're kind of a badass, fighting demons and monsters, mysterious absences. You're the cool kid on the playground. It was so different than the way I saw myself, hapless pawn of fate, barely able to keep it together for 9 or 10 minutes at a stretch,
that I laughed out loud. I laughed loud enough for the drunks in the next booth to glare at me. You're joking. I don't have the energy. She put the glass down and sighed. So what do you want, Bobby? I told Monica, without explaining who I thought the target really was, of course, that I needed to get to Doña Sapanta, close up and personal. Why don't you just do what you ordinarily do? Smash through the front door and keep going until someone tries to kill you. I bowed my head. I'm trying to improve my karma, sweetie. From now on, I'm going to do it the peaceful way first. Then, when I fuck that up, I go back with guns blazing. I was stopped by her look of alarm. I'm kidding. There will be no guns. I just need to get in and meet this woman face to face. She must be very good looking. But I thought you had a new girlfriend. A moment of constriction around the heart and lungs. Who'd been talking? Where did you hear that? Gossip doesn't come like email with to and from in the header. I don't know. Everybody talks about it. Some mysterious woman no one's ever seen. She smiled, and it was a little better this time. Honestly, Bobby, I don't mind. We were never serious about each other, were we? I smelled another trap. I always cared about you, Monica. I still do. And that calls for another drink, I believe. She waved until she caught the harried waitress's attention. How about you? Yeah, why not? So then, your new girlfriend? It's complicated. She's out of town for a while. So you're scouting up new talent? If I swear I'm not, you won't believe me. Think what you want, but I do need to meet this Sapanta woman. Help me? I'm not trying to be mean, honest, and if you're serious about this new one who you never talk about, I wish you the best. Now, what can I do about Doña Sapanta? I was still inventing the plan, so I briefed her as best I could, doing my best not to harp too much on the need for secrecy, although I was scared to death my pursuit of Doña Sapanta would also become news around the compasses. If people found out I was after Anaita, it could have even worse repercussions than people knowing about Kaz. Although, now that I thought about it, the downside of both would be immediate ejection of my immortal soul from heaven and its prompt conveyance to the lower depths, so it was kind of a pick-em. I'm going to go about 2 more minutes to finish this chapter. So it was kind of a pick-em. Monica agreed to help, pending the rest of the information on Doña Sapanta, which I promised I'd get to her as soon as I had it. She is beautiful, or at least that's what I've heard. You sure you're not aiming a bit high? It's nothing to do with sex, Monica, I swear on the highest. Bobby, everything you do is something to do with sex. I just don't have the strength to dig deep enough to find out. Let me know when you need me. I'll look up some of my old contacts. Bless you. I mean that. Yeah. Give an old trooper a kiss on the cheek and we'll say goodnight. I have to go home. Some of us are still working for a living. Which sounded like she knew about my leave of absence, too. Did everybody know more about my life than I did? Probably. We hugged goodbye in the parking lot, and I tried not to think much about how warm and alive Monica felt, or the absence of Kaz, which was all I had instead. When I got home, such as home currently was, I found Clarence dancing with the Amazons in the middle of the living room to Junior Walker and the All-Stars Shotgun. I didn't even know Kaz had that song in her collection. How did a 15th century Polish countess know about Junior Walker? Sorry to interrupt, I said loudly over the music, but I've had a long day, what with people trying to murder me and all, and I still need to get Clarence back to his car. Join us, cried Oksana. We are having a celebrate. Yes, we are getting on our groove, said Helena. Because I found the address, Bobby, Clarence announced without ever stopping his science grad student Watusi. Before that moment, I would have guessed that all gay guys could dance. "Number 1 Hilltop Way," he shouted. "The place is huge. There's a satellite picture of it on the laptop." I wandered to the desk to look at it. If Casa Sepanta had been built a few hundred years earlier, it would have been a castle. Outside the very large house and numerous outbuildings were walls, a guard booth, the whole 9 yards. And there, nestled beneath a bunch of trees, was the outline of the pools from the Sunset article. Junior had come through. Phase 2 could begin. So why did I feel like I'd swallowed a large, cold stone? And that's where we're hanging it up for the night. Only a few minutes over time. So, hang on just a second. Let me get that off my desktop. So, that said, I am going to head westward towards the setting sun, towards the place where the golden barge of Ra disappears, towards Sleepy Town. So, all of you, take good care of yourselves. That's the first imprimatur. Anyway, that's the first thing. Take good care of yourselves. Take good care of your loved ones, your friends, your close ones. Keep an eye out for others who might need something from you. Kind word, few moments, smile, a couple of bucks, whatever it might be. Times are tough. We will get through them together. Times have been tougher, and we've gotten through them before. So we will get through this one too. Anyway, until that time, when the golden barge of Ra disappears into the west. Until the next time, I will see you very soon. Again, I thank you for being with me. I will be back later today at 7 p.m. California time, and then obviously return next week. So thank you again. Pleasure to spend time with you as always. Peace, be well, and au revoir.